She said she was still friends with her ex because he's family. I said I didn't feel right about it. She replied, "Well, maybe you're just not secure enough to date me." So I invited her ex to the dinner I was hosting for her birthday. They sat across from each other while I read their entire chat log out loud. 92 missed calls. She left before dessert. I've never considered myself the jealous type. Possessive, insecure, controlling. These aren't words anyone would use to describe me. I believe in trust and giving people space to maintain their own relationships. But there's a difference between trust and willful blindness, between security and stupidity. It took me longer than it should have to figure that out. I met Vanessa at a friend's wedding last spring. She was the maid of honor. I was a college friend of the groom. We hit it off immediately, that rare, instant chemistry where hours of conversation feel like minutes. By the end of the night, we'd exchanged numbers and made plans for dinner the following weekend. Things progressed quickly. Vanessa was intelligent, ambitious, beautiful. A hospital administrator with a sharp wit and seemingly boundless energy. Within 3 months, we were practically living together, splitting time between my apartment and hers. I was falling hard, and by all appearances, she was too. The first mention of Jason came about 4 months into our relationship. Vanessa received a call during dinner, glanced at her phone, and excused herself to answer. When she returned, I asked casually who it was. "Just Jason," she said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "An old friend." A week later, his name came up again when she was scrolling through her phone showing me vacation photos, and I noticed several pictures of her with a tall, dark-haired man. "Who's that?" I asked. "Oh, that's Jason," she replied, quickly swiping to the next photo. "The same Jason who called the other night?" She hesitated briefly. "Yeah. We dated for a couple years, but we're just friends now. Have been for ages." I nodded, not thinking much of it. Plenty of people maintain friendships with exes. It's the mature thing to do, right? But Jason's name kept appearing. References to conversations she'd had with him, jokes he'd told her, advice he'd given her about work situations. The frequency was notable. "You and Jason seem to talk a lot," I observed one evening after she'd mentioned him 3 times during dinner. Vanessa's posture stiffened slightly. "Is that a problem?" "Not necessarily. I'm just curious why you're so close with an ex." She set down her wine glass. "Jason isn't just an ex, he's family." This was new information. Family? His sister married my cousin. We're all really close. There are family gatherings, holidays. He's just part of the package. It made a certain sense, though something about her explanation felt rehearsed. Still, who was I to question it? I'd never been the jealous boyfriend. Never wanted to be. Over the next 2 months, Jason's presence in Vanessa's life became increasingly difficult to ignore. She'd step away to take his calls even during our dates. She'd text with him constantly. Once, I woke up at 2 a.m. to find her side of the bed empty. She was in the living room, having a quick catch-up call with Jason because he was going through some stuff. When I finally expressed my discomfort, Vanessa's response was swift and cutting. "Well, maybe you're just not secure enough to date me." The accusation hung in the air between us. "It's not about insecurity," I countered. "It's about boundaries. Would you be comfortable if I was texting and calling a female ex at all hours?" If she was family, yes. "He's not actually your family, Vanessa. He's your ex who happens to have a connection to your family." She shook her head, clearly disappointed in me. "I thought you were different. Every guy gets weird about Jason eventually. I really expected more from you." The conversation ended with me apologizing. For what? I wasn't entirely sure. For having normal human concerns? For questioning something that objectively seemed inappropriate? But I backed down because I loved her and because maybe I was being insecure. Maybe this was a me problem. 2 weeks later, Vanessa left her laptop open while she went to take a shower. We'd been working side by side all morning, me on a presentation for work, her on some hospital administration reports. When her laptop chimed with a message, I glanced over reflexively. It was from Jason. And it wasn't the message of a family friend. "Last night was incredible. Still thinking about how you felt. Can't wait for next time." My mind went blank. I stared at the message for what felt like hours but must have been only seconds. Then, against every moral principle I'd always held, I clicked on their chat history. What I found confirmed every suspicion I'd dismissed as paranoia. Months of explicit messages, plans for clandestine meetings timed around my work schedule, complaints about me and my neediness, jokes at my expense. He actually believed the family connection thing Jason had written. Not the brightest bulb, is he? I told you, Vanessa replied. He's sweet but so naive. Doesn't ask too many questions, which works for me. I scrolled through message after message, each one more devastating than the last. This wasn't a recent development. This had been going on our entire relationship. I wasn't the boyfriend, I was the side piece, the convenient cover, the sweet but naive fool. I took screenshots of everything, emailed them to myself, then closed the laptop exactly as I'd found it. When Vanessa returned from her shower, I kissed her on the cheek and said I had to run to the office for a few hours. Instead, I went to a coffee shop and made a plan. Vanessa's 31st birthday was the following weekend. I'd already arranged a special dinner at an upscale restaurant downtown, just the two of us, I'd told her. A chance to celebrate properly before the big family party her parents were hosting the next day. I made two crucial changes to that plan. First, I changed the reservation from 2 people to 3. Second, I contacted Jason. Finding him wasn't difficult. I had his full name from their messages, and a quick social media search gave me his email. I wrote to him as if I was arranging a surprise for Vanessa. Hey Jason, Vanessa's mentioned how important you are to her, and I'd love to include you in her birthday celebration. I'm planning a special dinner this Saturday. Could you make it? I want to surprise her with all her favorite people. He replied within the hour, clearly unsuspecting. That's really thoughtful, man. Sure, I can be there. What time and where? I gave him the details, suggesting he arrive 15 minutes after our reservation time for maximum surprise effect. He agreed enthusiastically. The night of Vanessa's birthday, I picked her up at her apartment, presenting her with flowers and a small wrapped gift, a silver bracelet I'd purchased weeks earlier when I still believed in us. You look beautiful, I told her, and she did. She'd chosen a dark blue dress I'd always loved on her, her dark hair falling in loose waves around her shoulders. Thank you, she smiled, kissing me. And thank you for planning something special. Oh, tonight will definitely be special, I assured her. At the restaurant, we were shown to our table, a corner booth with a perfect view of the entrance. I'd requested a specific arrangement, Vanessa facing away from the door, me with a clear line of sight to it. The third place setting was positioned directly across from her. Champagne to start? I suggested, ordering a bottle before she could respond. We made small talk as I kept one eye on the entrance. Vanessa seemed genuinely happy, entirely unaware of what was coming. The champagne arrived, and I proposed a toast. To honesty, I said, raising my glass. She faltered slightly but clinked her glass against mine. To honesty. Right on to you. I saw Jason enter the restaurant, scanning the room. I raised my hand slightly, catching his eye. The moment he spotted us, spotted Vanessa, his expression shifted from friendly to panicked. He froze, clearly debating whether to approach or flee. I waved him over insistently, my smile never wavering. Vanessa, noticing my attention directed elsewhere, turned to follow my gaze. The color drained from her face as she spotted Jason reluctantly approaching our table. What is he doing here? She stammered, turning back to me. I invited him, I said pleasantly. He's family, right? I thought he should be here for your birthday. Jason reached our table, his discomfort palpable. Hey, surprise? He offered weakly. Jason, please, sit down. I gestured to the empty seat directly across from Vanessa. I've been looking forward to getting to know you better. His eyes darted to Vanessa, who gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. But declining now would only make things more awkward, so he cautiously slid into the seat. The tension at the table was thick enough to cut with the steak knives that had just been placed before us. Vanessa attempted to salvage the situation. This is unexpected, she managed, her voice strained. But thoughtful. Thank you for including Jason. I smiled, raising my glass again. Of course, I know how close you two are. An uncomfortable silence descended. Jason fidgeted with his napkin while Vanessa shot him warning glances. I maintained an air of oblivious pleasantness. So, Jason, I began conversationally, Vanessa tells me you two go way back. Something about your sister marrying her cousin? Jason swallowed hard. Yeah, something like that. Interesting, I nodded. Which cousin would that be exactly? Vanessa jumped in. It's complicated. Extended family. You wouldn't know them. Try me, I insisted, my smile never faltering. Another uncomfortable silence. The waiter arrived to take our orders, providing a momentary reprieve from the interrogation. Once he left, I reached down beside me and retrieved my tablet from my bag, placing it on the table. Both Vanessa and Jason eyed it nervously. You know what I think would be fun? I said, unlocking the screen. A little reading material while we wait for our appetizers. Vanessa's eyes widened as realization dawned. What are you doing? Just sharing some interesting correspondence I came across. I cleared my throat and began to read aloud from the screenshots I'd taken. Last night was incredible. Still thinking about how you felt. Can't wait for next time. I looked up at Jason. Eloquent. The blood drained from both their faces. Jason half rose from his seat, but I continued before he could speak. You actually believe the family connection thing? Not the brightest bulb, is he? I turned to Vanessa. That's you talking about me, in case there's any confusion. Stop this, Vanessa hissed, glancing around to see if other diners were listening. This is inappropriate. Inappropriate? I laughed quietly. Let's talk about inappropriate. How about this exchange from last month? I continued reading message after message, calmly and clearly. The explicit details of their encounters, the times and locations, the jokes at my expense, the shared contempt for my neediness and insecurity. Jason sat frozen, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Vanessa's initial shock had given way to fury. You went through my private messages? She demanded, as if that were the real transgression here. Yes, I admitted without a hint of remorse. After I saw a message pop up on your laptop, a message that made it pretty clear what's been going on behind my back for our entire relationship. You had no right, and you had no right to gaslight me for months. I cut her off, to make me feel crazy for having completely justified concerns, to tell me I wasn't secure enough to date you, when in reality, I just wasn't stupid enough to ignore the obvious. Jason finally spoke up. Look, man, this is between you and Vanessa. I should go. No, Jason, this involves you too, I said firmly. You've been an active participant in this deception. You've knowingly helped her lie to me, manipulate me, and make me question my own judgment. You don't get to just walk away from that. I turned my attention back to the tablet. Should I continue? There's plenty more. Or maybe we should skip ahead to the part where you both planned to meet up while I was at my grandmother's funeral last month. That's a personal favorite of mine. Vanessa stood abruptly, tears of rage streaming down her face. I'm not sitting here for this. Before you go, I said, reaching into my pocket and placing a small box on the table. Happy birthday. It's the key to my apartment. I've already packed your things. They're in boxes by the door. Don't worry about returning the key. I'm changing the locks tomorrow. She snatched the box and stormed out, leaving Jason sitting there awkwardly. You should probably go too, I suggested. Unless you'd like to hear more of your greatest hits. He mumbled something that might have been an apology and hurried after Vanessa. I remained at the table alone, ordered another bottle of champagne, and enjoyed a remarkably peaceful meal. The waiter, who had clearly sensed the drama, treated me with a mixture of pity and respect. Will you still be wanting the dessert with the candle? He asked when it came time. Absolutely, I replied. No reason to waste a good tiramisu. By the time I got home that night, I had 47 missed calls from Vanessa. By the next morning, it was 92. I didn't answer a single one. She left voicemails ranging from tearful apologies to vicious accusations. She sent texts alternating between begging for another chance and calling me controlling and psychotic for violating her privacy. She even had friends reach out, trying to convince me I'd overreacted. I blocked them all, changed my number a week later, moved apartments the following month. It's been 6 months now. I've heard through mutual friends that Vanessa and Jason tried dating officially after our breakup, but imploded within weeks. Apparently, neither of them could trust the other. Imagine that. As for me, I'm doing better than expected. The experience left its scars, but also taught me to trust my instincts. Sometimes what looks like insecurity is actually your subconscious picking up on something your conscious mind doesn't want to see. And I've learned that while I'm not the jealous type, I'm also not the type to be made a fool of. Not twice, anyway. They say living well is the best revenge. I disagree. The best revenge is watching someone's face as you read their betrayal back to them, word for word, in the middle of what was supposed to be a celebration of their life. And then eating their birthday dessert after they flee the scene. The tiramisu, by the way, was excellent. And to those asking if I feel bad about the public humiliation, the restaurant was high-end with private, well-spaced tables. No one could hear our conversation. The humiliation wasn't public, it was precise and targeted to the exact people who deserved to feel it. Edit 2. Yes, what I did was calculated and cold. So was carrying on an affair behind my back for our entire relationship while gaslighting me about my insecurities. Actions have consequences. Edit 3. For those wondering about the legality of reading someone's private messages, while generally not something I'd advocate, there are no criminal charges associated with viewing messages that were left open on a shared device in a shared living space. Morally questionable? Perhaps, but no more so than what they did. Edit 4. Final update. I'm dating again, taking things slow. When someone tells me I'm not secure enough now, I take it as the red flag it is. Sometimes insecurity is just your gut trying to protect you from people who don't deserve your trust.